When you become immune to applause, you're finally free to move in silence. Most people confuse noise with power, but the strongest ones, they move without needing spotlights. The Sigma male is that man, the one who doesn't broadcast but always builds. Not out of rebellion, but because he's engineered differently. Ascenders, listen up. Today, we are decoding the blueprint most people think they understand, but barely scratch the surface of. We're about to separate the genuine Sigmas from the role players. You'll notice there's no generic talk here, no lone wolf cliches, no tired Instagram quotes. Just raw insights that expose the difference between those who quietly dominate and those who pretend they do. This is your signal to evolve past the performance, past the image, and into the architecture of the real Sigma mindset. Every trait we cover today has one purpose: to refine your edge and cut the noise. If you're ready to stop following empty formulas and start mastering the unspoken code, subscribe to Sigma Ascends now. This isn't a channel, it's a recalibration point. Let's start building. 1. Ghost social calibration. You've seen it before, guys trying too hard to stand out by being loud, rude, or ultra-masculine, but a true Sigma male doesn't walk into a room looking to dominate it. He scans it, feels it, tunes in without saying a word. This is what I call ghost social calibration, the rare ability to sense people's emotional frequencies without needing to respond to them directly. Sigmas don't fake smiles. They don't match energy. They observe, calculate, and, when necessary, pivot entire interactions without raising their voice. Wannabes often misinterpret this trait. They confuse silence with awkwardness. They try to imitate by being distant or cold, thinking mystery equals power. But real Sigma presence is not about disappearing. It's about knowing exactly when to show up and how much to give. It's silent control, not absence. This trait makes Sigmas highly effective in environments where others are performing for approval. While everyone else is trying to be seen, the Sigma is already gathering data, noticing who's bluffing, who's real, and what the dynamics actually are. That's leverage. Here's the kicker. Because of this subtle mastery, a Sigma can steer a room with a look, a well-timed question, or by simply not reacting. Silence becomes pressure. Stillness becomes intrigue. And when he does speak, people pay attention, not because of volume, but because it's earned. To cultivate this trait, ascenders practice being present without participating. Learn to read tones, not just words. Learn to notice what's not said. The more you do, the more you'll realize you can influence people without ever stepping into the spotlight. 2. The no-rush blueprint. In a world obsessed with urgency, the Sigma plays a long game. Wannabes move fast because they think motion equals meaning. Sigmas, they move with precision. The no-rush blueprint is not laziness. It's the discipline of timing. It's about holding your fire until the wind's on your side. It's knowing that waiting isn't wasting if the foundation is being laid in silence. While others panic to stay visible, the Sigma is building quietly, intentionally, and without announcing his next move. This calm slowness isn't hesitation, it's control. It's measured momentum, and when he finally moves, the impact is surgical. Wannabes sprint in public. Sigmas walk in the shadows with a map in hand. The world only sees the outcome, not the blueprint, and that's the point. People often ask how Sigmas stay so composed under pressure. The answer is simple. They've already planned the chaos in advance. They've gamed out failure. They've internalized patience as a tool, not a weakness. That patience buys them room to think, pivot, and capitalize while everyone else burns out. To build your own no-rush blueprint, start designing systems instead of chasing short-term wins. Think seasons, not weeks. Think legacy, not impressions. You don't have to move fast, you have to move right. That's how real disruption happens. 3. Decentralized identity. Most people tie their self-worth to roles, job titles, fashion, relationship status, popularity. The Sigma, he doesn't live in one lane. He's decentralized, a man whose identity isn't anchored in any one label. This is why Sigmas seem so fluid. They can be artists, leaders, ghostwriters, tech geeks, fighters, it doesn't matter. Their core isn't built around one mask, and that makes them ungovernable. Wannabes try to cosplay Sigma by looking mysterious. They adopt a vibe, not a principle. But when their identity gets threatened, when they lose the role, the crowd, the clout, they crack. Sigmas don't. Why? Because the Sigma identity isn't external. It's modular. It's a self-designed OS that adapts to environment without ever losing its code. You can drop a Sigma in a boardroom, a war zone, or a meditation retreat. He won't be thrown. He adapts without becoming the room. He maintains essence while adjusting tactics. That's real power. To adopt a decentralized identity, stop defining yourself by surface metrics. Strip the layers. Build your self-worth around values, principles, and skills that don't expire when the world changes. Learn to ask yourself, if they took it all, would I still know who I am? If the answer is yes, you're walking the Sigma path. 4. Zero need energy. Most people carry a hidden desperation in their tone. It shows in the way they talk, dress, and react. The Sigma, he radiates what I call zero need energy, that rare frequency that says, I'm already complete. This isn't arrogance. It's not indifference. It's simply the absence of emotional dependency. Sigma males don't posture for validation. They don't inflate their value with bravado or exaggerated stories. They're not trying to prove anything because they've already accepted everything within themselves. Now, compare that to a wannabe lone wolf. His detachment is performative. He wants people to notice his silence. He wants his coldness to be seen as mysterious. But there's a difference between being detached and being internally secured. One seeks attention in disguise. The other has no appetite for it. Zero need energy is magnetic because it disarms people. In a world where everyone's hustling for likes, laughs, and handshakes, the Sigma's quiet confidence stands out like a blackout in Times Square. He doesn't try to impress. And that's exactly why people are drawn to him. But don't mistake this for passivity. Sigma males still connect. They still influence. The difference is, they don't need the outcome. Their inner life is already full. That inner fullness is what makes them unshakable. Want to develop this? Start observing how often you seek reactions. Ask yourself, am I saying this because it's real or because I want a response? The more you detach from outcome-driven behavior, the more your natural Sigma energy will surface. You become the prize, not by claiming it, but by acting like you don't need to be chosen. 5. Strategic invisibility. This one cuts deep. Real Sigma males don't just know how to stand out. They know when to disappear. It's what I call strategic invisibility. The ability to vanish from a room, a role, or a relationship the moment it becomes a drain on their power. Not to run away, but to regain control. Wannabes crave presence. They want to be seen in every conversation, every comment thread, every social update. Sigmas, they weaponize absence. They know that not being somewhere can speak louder than showing up. Invisibility, when used right, creates intrigue. It leaves gaps. It forces others to notice your absence and question what you're building. While people are burning time staying relevant, Sigmas are sharpening their edge off-grid. This trait also serves as a defense mechanism. The Sigma doesn't offer unlimited access. He's aware that overexposure breeds expectation and eventually exploitation. So he builds a life where he can ghost without explanation. A life that doesn't fall apart when he's offline. Strategic invisibility doesn't mean total isolation. It means appearing where it matters, when it matters, and only in your own way. It's control over attention, not absence from life. To build this, ascenders, stop thinking presence equals value. Practice not responding. Leave conversations unfinished. Skip the party. Miss the meeting. Not because you're flaky, but because you're practicing the power of deliberate distance. 6. Emotional encryption. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, but through a Sigma lens. Most people think being in touch with emotions means being expressive. But real Sigma males don't display feelings to process them. They encrypt them. That's right, Sigmas feel deeply. But they don't hand their emotional data to just anyone. They protect it, guard it, filter it through logic and awareness before letting it leave their mouth. Wannabes fake stoicism. They think being Sigma means being cold. So they suppress emotions, which eventually explode or mutate into passive aggression. Sigmas don't suppress, they transmute. They take emotion, examine it, and convert it into calm power. Here's the difference. If a wannabe gets rejected, he reacts with sarcasm, rage, or detachment. A Sigma? He logs the experience, learns from it, and keeps moving. No drama, no announcement, just upgraded awareness. This emotional encryption gives Sigmas massive psychological leverage. They never overreact, never overshare, never let external chaos infect their inner peace. Because they've made emotional discipline a form of mental armor. To master this, ascenders, start holding your reactions like a chess player holds a move. Ask, who benefits from seeing this side of me? Is this moment worthy of a reveal? You'll find that 90% of your emotions aren't meant to be broadcast. They're meant to build you. The more encrypted your emotional world is, the more power you'll have in every room, not by dominating, but by being unreadable, unpredictable, and unshakably centered. 7. Intentional isolation. Isolation is often misunderstood. People think being alone means being lonely, but for the Sigma male, isolation isn't a punishment, it's a strategic weapon. I call it intentional isolation, choosing solitude not because the world rejected you, but because you're designing your own mental terrain. Sigma males don't fear being alone, they crave it, not for escape, but for refinement. See, most people stay plugged into noise. Constant socializing, constant feedback loops, constant external input. Wannabes think they're grinding because they're always busy, always connected. But Sigma males understand that clarity requires distance. Creation requires silence. Isolation is where the Sigma recalibrates. It's where he confronts the unfiltered version of himself, his doubts, his edges, his thoughts when no one's watching. That self-confrontation isn't comfortable, but it's essential. It separates those who perform from those who build. A wannabe alone gets anxious. He needs distraction, validation, stimulation. A Sigma, he finds his focus in the quiet. He builds his edge in that isolation, his discipline, his patience, his ideas, his ability to hear his own signal in a world full of static. But here's the key. This isolation isn't permanent, it's cyclical. Sigmas go dark to sharpen. Then they return, clearer, colder, more calculated. It's like stepping into the woods to forge a better sword before returning to the battlefield. To master this, ascenders, stop thinking of alone time as downtime. Use it as build time. Create a system where you regularly disappear from social media, from crowds, from needless interaction. In that void, you'll discover clarity most men never access. 8. Adaptive confrontation. Sigma males don't fear conflict, but they also don't chase it. They treat confrontation like a precision tool, used rarely but effectively. This is what I call adaptive confrontation. The Sigma doesn't use one-size-fits-all responses. He adapts his intensity to the situation. Sometimes he's silent. Sometimes he cuts sharp. Sometimes he leaves without a word, and that silence hurts more than yelling. Wannabes misunderstand confrontation. They think Sigma equals emotionless, so they avoid every argument, thinking indifference is strength, but avoidance isn't power, it's passive fear. A real Sigma confronts, but on his terms. This trait is rooted in control. The Sigma isn't reactive. He doesn't let ego run the play. He watches, he calculates, and if a line must be drawn, he draws it with surgical clarity. One statement, one exit, one look. Enough said. That's the thing. His confrontations aren't messy. They're clean, precise. He doesn't raise his voice because his words carry the weight of intention. He's not out to win an argument. He's out to reset boundaries. This is how Sigmas maintain respect without drama. They don't allow emotional bait. They know that real dominance isn't shown in how loud you argue. It's in how calmly you correct disrespect. To develop this trait, ascenders, stop rehearsing comebacks and start rehearsing silence. Learn to assess if a situation deserves confrontation or if it's beneath you. Train your mind to speak only when it creates leverage, not friction. When you confront like a Sigma, every word you drop feels like a decision, not a defense. That's power. 9. Value silence over noise. Let's kill the myth that power is loud, that dominance must be vocal. Real Sigma males understand something far more lethal. Silence is sharper than talk. This is what I call valuing silence over noise. The Sigma male uses silence not as an absence, but as a presence. He doesn't talk just to talk. He speaks when necessary, and when he does, it cuts. Wannabes often confuse volume with influence. They talk fast, talk big, and try to control the room with presence. Sigmas? They let silence do the heavy lifting. Here's the truth. People reveal themselves in silence. When you don't rush to fill the gap, they show you their fears, their intentions, their insecurities. And Sigmas are masters at watching that unfold. They listen to decode, not just to reply. It also plays into unpredictability. When you're always explaining yourself, people map you out. They know your tells. But when you're selective with words, you stay unreadable. And in a world obsessed with knowing your next move, unreadability is your moat. But don't confuse this with being closed off. Sigmas can still engage deeply. The difference is they speak from intent, not reaction. Every word serves a purpose, not an impulse. That's what gives them weight. Want to build this? Stop responding automatically. Let silences sit. Ask questions and wait. Make your words a luxury, not a commodity. Practice holding your energy when everyone else is releasing theirs. The result? Your presence will say more than most people's speeches. That's not mystery, it's mastery. 10. Self-signed validation. Real Sigma males don't wait for a crowd to clap. They write their own damn trophy. This is what I call self-signed validation, the ability to measure your worth internally, not by applause, likes, or approval. You'll notice it right away. Sigmas don't ask for permission to feel confident. They don't need group consensus before making a decision. They've built their own scoreboard, and they're the only ones who see it. Wannabes, though, they pretend not to care, but their self-worth lives in someone else's pocket. One compliment boosts them, one rejection wrecks them. They depend on feedback to feel real. That's not confidence, that's addiction. Self-signed validation comes from doing hard things in silence, from keeping promises to yourself, from not folding when nobody's watching. It's built in late nights, unfinished notebooks, silent victories, and the decision to keep going when the world doesn't clap. Here's the twist. Sigmas don't just ignore validation. They redefine it. What matters to them isn't popularity, it's alignment. Did I act from principle? Did I stay sharp? Did I remain sovereign? If the answer is yes, then the win is already logged. That mindset is rare. Most people chase external results to prove something. Sigmas, they are the result, the quiet success, the self-stamped approval. the man who can stand in front of the mirror and nod, not because the world believes in him, but because he does. To develop this, ascenders, stop announcing your moves. Start building evidence for yourself. Write down your progress. Keep private scorecards. Build such a solid internal system that external rewards feel like bonuses, not lifelines. When your validation is self-signed, no one can take it away. That's real sovereignty. 11th, exit-ready mentality. The final trait cuts deeper than all the others. Exit-ready mentality. Every Sigma male walks into a job, a relationship, a deal, with an invisible door behind him. Not because he's scared to commit, but because he refuses to be caged. Wannabes attach themselves to everything, titles, roles, tribes. They need the identity. The Sigma, he'll walk away mid-sentence if it costs him his core. He builds power, but never lets it own him. Exit readiness is psychological armor. It's the mental discipline of knowing you can leave, not because you want to, but because you won't be trapped. And that freedom shows. You can't manipulate a man who doesn't fear leaving. In business, this makes Sigmas unpredictable. In relationships, it keeps them honest. They're not there because they need to be. They're there because they chose to be. That's powerful. That's rare. Here's the misunderstood part. This isn't about being flaky or emotionless. It's about building a life where your identity isn't tied to things you can lose. That means developing portable skills, creating financial flexibility, maintaining psychological independence. To embody this, ascenders, stop overcommitting to things that compromise you. Build options, create exits. Train your mind to recognize when something becomes a cage, even if it looks like a castle. Because once you can walk away from anything, you own everything. So let's make it brutally clear, ascenders. Being Sigma isn't about mysterious vibes, leather jackets, or walking alone in slow motion. It's not a look. It's not a trend. It's a silent operating system that reshapes how you move through the world. It's about influence without attention, movement without noise, power without the parade. You just explored 11 silent weapons that real Sigma males carry, not in their hands, but in their mindset. These traits aren't visible from the outside. They're etched into behavior, choices, and boundaries that don't bend for applause. So before you call yourself Sigma, ask yourself, can you walk alone and still feel whole? Can you vanish and still be valuable? Can you be silent and still shake the room? If you felt something shift inside you today, good. That's the point. These aren't just traits to admire. They're blueprints to embody. If you're done following trends and ready to walk the edge, subscribe to Sigma Ascends. This isn't content. This is construction of the quietest, coldest, sharpest version of yourself. Until next time, stay quiet, stay calculated, stay sovereign.